Happy Friday. Wow, we've made it to the end of the year. There have been times when we had to wonder, but today is December 29th, 2023, and this is your final video of the year. So where it will be a Friday planning video, I want to share a few broader market comments with you as well. I'm planning to reboot the distribution of the videos. Remember, I mentioned this. They still will be available on LinkedIn and Twitter or X. They will always be available on the website. Watch for signups for a new email distribution, and possibly when we can get the technology and the regulation together, hopefully some text messaging too. The key will be to get signed up to get the videos in the place and the frequency of your choosing. That's the plan. I would like to minimize the emails you get unless you really want to get them that way, so please be on the lookout for that. I want to talk again about balance, or more specifically, the extremes. I came across a great article this week. The title was Abandoning the Addiction to Prediction. So last week we spoke about the extremes of market forecasts and the research experts and the need to balance that approach. Today I want to talk about the extremes of market sentiment. The University of Michigan has been publishing a consumer sentiment index, and I've been reporting on that to you as it comes out, usually on Fridays. Sentiment is the new extreme. I use this often, but it seems quite often these days, and it's more true today than even it has been in a while. Everyone, and it really seems like everyone, is on the same side of the boat. And for any of you who are boaters or have listened to my videos, this is not a good thing. It is very easy to tip over. As the University of Michigan survey results have been improving, the American Association of Individual Investors survey has also been going more bullish week after week. The bullish side of the boat is pretty crowded. Before you think this, no, I'm not suggesting that we're about to tip over. Like last week, I'm talking about getting a personal reset and getting into a balance and stepping back from the media, the animal spirits, and all that may be discussed everywhere from the golf courses to the water coolers, and realize that balance is important. One of my favorite explanations of the market action is that one important trait of the stock market seems to be as soon as you figure it out, it changes. And my second favorite unwritten rule is the job of the market is to make a fool of the masses. Keeping that in mind, let's review a few recent events in market history. December 2021, the S&P 500 had just hit an all-time high. Pandemic impact was still being felt. Tech companies were surging and leading the markets higher. Hybrid world was everyone's expectation. Cruises had just restarted 6 months earlier. And as far as everyone knew, the hybrid world was here to stay. Stimulus was free-flowing from Washington in almost every way possible, and inflation was rising. Everyone but the Fed at the time knew that rates needed to rise, but did not think it would be that bad. Simply, sentiment was all on one side of the boat, bullish. Outlook on December 28th, 2021, very, very positive. Well, as we know, that was a bit misguided. The Fed was much more aggressive on rate hikes, setting a new land speed record for how quickly they could raise it. Inflation exploded, growth slowed, and the S&P 500 dropped nearly 20% in a year. Simply, consensus, absolutely wrong. Let's move to December 2022, just a year ago. Investors were despondent. The S&P was coming to the end of the worst year in over a decade, and the Fed was hiking rates like there was no end in sight. Inflation was ignoring that and was showing no signs of breaking. Recession fears surged, and the sentiment was, we are either going into stagflation or a recession. You know what happens now. That pessimism was unfounded, growth was strong, inflation was broken, and then the Fed did the dovish pivot, as has been called, and as I keep hearing the saying, it was a game changer. Now here we are, December 2023. Consensus, to say the least, is bullish again. Soft landing is a sure thing in many people's minds. The Fed will cut rates 6 times in 2024, says many, and it will not be cutting due to slowing growth, but inflation in a free fall that will allow the cuts without the growth falling off the cliff with the inflation. The fact that there are wars in multiple places of the globe, more government elections throughout the world than almost any time in history, including here in the United States, potentially slowing economy, margins getting squeezed, 10% estimated earnings growth, it seems that as we come to the end of the year today, the S&P 500, 5,000 mark is on the S&P is not too much of a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So as I said, I'm not saying this will or will not happen. I'm pointing out that just because the reality of a market in any given year hardly matches the consensus, and it almost never matches consensus when it is this sure of the outcome. I'm going to wrap this up in a way a Friday video should, about planning. I want to stress that I'm not saying that great things are not ahead for 2024, and I'm not saying they're not. And I'm not saying they are. But I'm saying first and foremost that balance is in how we look at this is so important. I suggest we not crowd one side of the boat too much. Abandoning the addiction to prediction, the article I mentioned before. The key should be clarity, and that clarity must be a clarity of goals and purpose. As a part of your financial team, I suggest that we continually assess all of the factors around you. We'll keep a defined focus on the goals. We will have the predictions around us, but we will continually try to reduce uncertainty and confusion. And in a world full of overconfidence and empty predictions, we'll continue, as we talk about all the time, to exercise the process. Remember the process. Define the goal, develop a plan to reach the goal, implement that plan, review the process, the progress of that plan, make necessary changes to the plans, and then rinse and repeat. Finally, when it comes to the way predictions and consensus interact with your goals, as the famous saying goes, it does not matter what happens to you, but how you react to what happens to you that will determine your destiny. I wish all of you a happy new year. Be safe, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Have a great weekend.